Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, I got some new paper pads and I am excited to use these. We are going to do another chop it up video today, but out of the new paper pads that I got, so this one here is the P13 Flowerish collection 6x6 paper pad, and this one's really similar to the last one that I did, where I did a whole paper pad and we made as many cards as we possibly could. So I think I'm going to choose, even though I love this one, I think I'm going to choose one a little bit different today. This is the Catherine Paula Sunflower Fields Forever. Now this is the only one that is wrapped in plastic, sorry about that. And this one is bright and beautiful. This has patterns, it has almost solids. These are single-sided papers, which is sort of good and bad. I guess it limits your choices, which is fine, but it does make it easier when it's coming to deciding which sort of side to put down. So I do love these ones and I am excited to use this paper pad, but I'm not sure if it's exactly what I'm thinking about today. Now, the next two that I have down here, these are both from Scrapbook Customs, and these are absolutely gorgeous. This one is called Baby Boy. Now, all of these are all double-sided, so this is absolutely fantastic. So it makes so many options and so many great backgrounds, and that's what I hope that this video provides, is just lots of really easy go-to cards, and that for me this is pretty stress-free card making. This one here is the rainbow plaid one, and again, stunning, bright, beautiful, gorgeous colors. Now there's not quite enough variation in these packs here for me to turn into a whole a whole video of all different types of cards. I think these would, there's not enough sort of focal points and things that I can add on. So for me today, the one that I'm going to use is going to be the Carta. This is Flora number 6, because I do love this one here. This is the Flowerish one, and that's that basket weave. I really like that. But I've decided on the one I'm going to use today, and it's going to be this one. So first things first, we want to make as many cards as we possibly can today, just using this paper pad. That's it. And so I'm going to pull all of these out because they are attached to that little bit, with a little bit of gum at the top. And so I'm going to take all of these apart. And again, this paper pad is different from the last one because there are so many designs. There are 24 different designs and only 2 of each. So first things first, I'm going to sort these. Now, a couple of great things about this paper pad, and I always say that this is what I'm looking for when I want to do these types of videos. And I have found this kind of peace and simplicity when it comes to doing these kind of videos. It really limits me in my card making. It gets my brain absolutely flowing with ideas, which is great, but it also helps me just reduce the amount of options and ideas that I have at the same time, if that makes sense. So I've been really enjoying doing this. Now, as I said, some things that I look for are that there are going to be great focal points. Now, this paper pad happens to have the best ever sentiments and focal points. So these sentiment pieces are just make life so easy when it comes to putting together lots of different cards. So you're going to see some very simple ones. We're going to add a little bit to them, of course, and do some different designs and things. Now these first ones here are just going to be so straightforward, and that's why I've sped this up pretty fast. I'm just going through the papers that I have and finding something that would be a beautiful background to them. So there is essentially 4 different designs of main sentiments and these big, bold, beautiful focal point sentiments. So this just makes life really easy. This is basically almost going to be our first 8 cards, I guess. So I have just cut these down to be, all of my cards today are going to be 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I'm going to, these panels here are cut down to be 4 by 5 1/4. So just a little white border around the outside. And then some of these truly need very little. Now I am trying out the scrapbook.com. This is really thin foam tape, because sometimes I find that the regular size foam tape can just be it can be quite thick, some of them. And when you just want a little sort of hint of dimension. That's what I am kind of looking for here. So we're going to try this one out, and I will tell you that already I love this because this video was filmed a couple of weeks ago and I have been really enjoying this product. I really enjoy the little bit of lift it gives it without being sort of that bulky feeling. Hard to explain, but I'm sure you know. So these two cards here, although these are beautiful as is, I'm actually just going to add a little bit of something to all of these cards to sort of mainly take them to the next level. Again, you can completely ignore this part because, as I said, we are just meant to be using just the paper pad, but these are beautiful and simple, and all I'm going to do is add in a little bit of gold thread. I'm going to wind this around my fingers several times so that I can get about, I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 5 strands together, and this is just going to create a little mini bow to pop on the bottom there. And I think even just that little bit of texture, that little bit of something dimensional, something that sort of pops off the card, which can be squished down nicely if you're mailing it, it was just that little bit of something extra. So then I pop it on using some Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish. That's what's inside these glue bottles, and once this dries, I know that no matter which mail it's going through, it's going to stay put. So there are our first 2 cards that we can whip over to the side and move on. These ones, again, I can just cut these down really, really easily, and these become some more card fronts ready to go. Now, of course, you could do more. Absolutely could do more. I'm going to trim down the white part on these just a little bit because there was a lot of white for how much background we had. And these are the little minor adjustments that I make as I go along, just to sort of make things work. You know, in general, I will cut them out and I can cut all the sizes in advance, but sometimes you just need to, you know, have that extra little bit of chop or make it fit just so how you want it to go. So again, I'm just using the liquid glue to put all of these backgrounds on. Everything means that I can adjust it and wiggle it around until it's, you know, nice and lined up and everything's good. And then, so I'm going to do, these will be 4 cards, and then you can see the little happy birthday ones up in the top left hand corner that I was working on cutting out before. Now I'm going to do those, and actually that gingham side on the other side of this was what I was originally going to use, but I quite like the floral, so I switched over there, and that's okay. We can change our mind. Again, these are all just like easy go-to cards, and yet I think they look beautiful and people really do appreciate them. I think sometimes we have like levels of cards. Some very, very special people in our lives that we really truly put so much thought and effort into cards behind them to think about who they are and that suit their personality and things. And then sometimes I like to have what I call my grab cards, which are just cards to grab and go just when you need them in a hurry. And yeah, I guess they're cards that I don't mind who and where they go and what happens to all of them because I just enjoy making all of my cards. Now, I had cut some sentiments off the top of these ones, so it was a little bit short, so we're going to make that a bit of a feature. So I have got the bottom 3, or sort of the left, the right, and the bottom are all nicely lined up. Then I've got a slim little piece of gold cardstock that was not in the stash, and I have popped that across just to separate that line, and then the nice little best wishes sentiment is going to go up towards the top. Again, just a slight variation on what we have, and I think all of these just look gorgeous. These are popped up on that really thin foam tape. So we are powering through and we have a good bunch of cards already. Now these beautiful little ones here, which I'm going to, again, make a bit of a focal feature out of these, but I'm going to have 3 little squares that are going to feature on each one. And of course they need a little matting layer as well. Now, if you are doing this sort of, to me this almost feels like a challenge. It's just a really therapeutic way of sitting down and not having to grab a million things. But if you are doing this, then of course you can bring in other colors, other papers, use your pens, use markers, whatever you need. There are no rules. This is just what I have been enjoying picking up recently and sort of giving this a go where I just use the paper pad and really limit myself. And I've been finding that during a really busy period of time during the Christmas and the holidays, my children are all home for 8 8 weeks over our summer holidays, and so I don't have as much time, not that I usually have very much time, but I have even less at the moment, and so this type of card making is just really therapeutic to me and gives me some me time. So I'm going to add, as I said, a little matting layer to all of these. I'm making 2 cards, remember, at the same time, because there's pretty much 2 of everything in this set. I guess that's how you can look at it. And I'm just using another piece of the almost solid. It's got a very light pattern in it, but it's just this gorgeous green. And I'm going to use that as a matting layer for all of these pieces. I am going to pop up the little sentiment piece on some foam tape, and so you've got foam tape there behind it. That's why it's nice and sticky, and then I can kind of keep it in place so that everything is roughly lined up. I don't measure anything, and I kind of like it that way. It just keeps things nice and simple. One of the other reasons why I love doing this paper pad challenge for myself is that everything just coordinates. I can pick up almost any of the papers, any of the patterns, and they're going to go together pretty nicely. Often you can pick up a bold pattern and then a more simple plain or solid, and everything goes together really nicely. So that is one of the bonuses, and exactly right here where I'm going to use 5 patterns on one, plus the little sentiment. So actually what I'm doing is I have 4 little strips left over. Now these strips were all cut off other pieces, and they were sitting there, and I thought, right, well that basically wrote itself. This one's ready to go. And so I was going to use some of the dry roller adhesive. However, I like the ability to be able to shift these around because, as I said, I don't measure, and I just want to keep them having a sort of as equal border as I possibly can. So you can see I have to keep adjusting them and moving them around. So the dry adhesive for me is much trickier when it comes to this sort of scenario. So there we go. I have 5 patterns, 4 extra pieces, and you can mix and match these. In fact, on the back of this one here is actually exactly the same. It's just the other side, and it gives those purple sort of daisies. And then once I've got all these 4 pieces, I do like to have a nice strip that sort of separates it all from the bottom, and I feel like it keeps those ends nice and neat and tidy. So I have picked up a little bit of gold cardstock. This is like a matte gold cardstock that I pop along the bottom. I've used this a couple of times, just a couple of thin strips, and then I'll use it as a tiny matting layer for the little sentiment or the little focal point that's going to go on these as well. Now I know that it's a little bit hard to see, but this actually has the word hello down there in the corner, so it is a lovely little sentiment. Here's that gold cardstock where I will create a little extra matting layer. Now for this, I just use my big long Tim Holtz scissors. I could not recommend a pair of long bladed scissors enough. In my personal opinion and experience, a pair of fussy cutting scissors and a pair of long bladed scissors are card making essentials. And I love the Carta fussy cutting scissors, and I love the Tim Holtz 9.5 inch scissors. Of course, everything that I have used in today's video will be listed down below in case you would like to look. There are some great deals going on at the moment, lots of coupon codes which I will be sure to share down there, and when you click through on the links it will take you to the coupon codes as well. But anyhow, here we are going through more and more of the scraps as well. Now there's this happy birthday one here that is already white, and I thought actually I'm just going to take advantage of the shape of that sentiment, and I'm just going to add more of these strips, because at this point when I'm getting through the stash of paper from the paper pad, I have lots and lots of strips left over. So let's take advantage of them and use them. And again, this is where it helps that they're all from one paper pad, because everything coordinates. It's pretty hard to get wrong at this point, and as I said, remember I can make pretty much 2 of every card. So it does mean that at least when I come up with a card design, I can make a couple of it. So I'm going to leave it to dry because these are using liquid glue. So leave it for a minute before I cut off the back, otherwise I will have things going in all sorts of directions, and we want to make life easier for ourselves, definitely not harder. So once I've got all of these ones down, now some of them I actually ripped in half depending on how long they were. That's why some of them have torn edges to them, and I use half on one of the cards and then half on the other card. But remember that all of these pieces as well can be used on your envelopes. So I have kept all my scraps, I keep all my little pile, and we are going to use some of those too. Now, once I have let it dry for a minute or two, just even a minute really helps out with stopping things moving around. I take those long bladed scissors, and at the moment, these are on a card front that is about 3 3/4 by 5 inches, so it's going to leave a decent amount of border. That way I'm going to pop this up with some foam tape. Now this one I think I either doubled up the skinny foam tape or I used regular because I thought this one needed the extra little bit of dimension. Yeah, I think I doubled up the layers, and so when these go onto the cards you can see a very definitive border. Even though it's white on white for some of it, it's definitely lifted up off the card base, and I really like that look. So if in doubt and you think it is not enough lift, then add a little bit more and that might just work out well. So here we have 2 more cards ready to go, and these were so quick. I think all of the sentiments in this paper pad really do they're very helpful for making things move along. I'm not having to stamp a single thing in any of these cards that we made, and we made a lot of cards today. Right, we're on to our last few here. So I'm going to again add a matting layer for these little sentiments. You make me happy. I really like these. These are just, all of these sentiments are very usable, which is something I truly appreciate too. And yet they're not all perfectly stock standard. Again, I take my long bladed scissors because I haven't measured these, and that means that they are slightly different sizes to each other, but we can still make that work. I did have some longer pieces of paper, but then I ended up trimming them for a different card and came back to this one, and by the time I came back and thinking, oh, I was going to use those, well, they were thinner strips now, so we're going to change our card design just a little bit, but that's okay because it just means that there are more variations of card designs for you to get inspiration from in this video. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. You can share the video. Please make sure you have subscribed and you need the notification bell on. I post videos at least 3 times a week, every single week. I have not missed in a long time. So definitely make sure you've got that little notification bell on and you are subscribed to get more of these videos. I have almost 1,000 videos now, so there are plenty to watch if you would like to subscribe to my channel. And of course, we have a wonderful Facebook group. It is called Come Crafting with Natasha. And if you were inspired by any of these cards at all that I have ever made, then we would love to see your photos of your projects, of your cards. So please make sure you share them on there. That way you can tag me in them and I can easily see them and talk to you. I would love to do that. Now, as with the last video, I do envelopes with all of these cards because I have all of these beautiful scraps and we may as well use them up. So I'm not going to go through and do it all over again. I'm just going to show you 2 different versions because if you look at my last video, which I will link up in the top right hand corner now, you can see at the end I did a lot of versions of envelopes. I don't know how many I did, maybe a dozen. I did a lot anyway. And so you can see all the different options that you are able to do with your leftover scraps for just to add that little bit of zing to your envelopes. For me, in this case, these envelopes have that little postcode box that I want to use up these envelopes, but I don't like that little postcode box, so I cover that up. We don't need that here for our mailing system. It's just the envelopes how they came, so I cover it up. Now, this is how I keep going. See how you could create another one right there with the scraps? You could pile them up and that would become another one and you'd be ready to go. So just keep going and keep going. Now, with all of these cards today, these are just absolutely beautiful. I really love this paper pad, and I think I might go back and see if the company has a few more that are sort of like this, because this had a great number of sentiments that I was able to easily use today. So here we go, we've got the first 2, then these 3, all of these have lovely dimension. I think even choosing one of these from each set would make a really nice set of gift cards to give because they all coordinate, they have the same colors, yet they have different sentiments for different occasions and everything. So I think that would be a really lovely gift too. Anyhow, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much if you've made it through this very long video. I appreciate it, and I really truly look forward to seeing you in the next video. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Thanks, bye.